across India, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I'm Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in Washington, D.C., Nick Harper. Nick, good to have you with us.
Morning, Tanvi. It's 10 a.m. here in Washington, D.C., 3 in the afternoon across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, the world marks Earth Day with US President Joe Biden pushing a plan to boost solar energy. And Donald Trump's trial gets underway in New York with opening statements. But first, the headlines.
Donald Trump claims election interference in coordination with Washington as arguments in the first ever criminal trial of a former US president gets underway in New York.
This is done as election interference. Everybody knows it. People understand what's going on. This is a witch hunt, and it's a shame. And it comes out of Washington. It's in coordination with Washington, everything.
World celebrates Earth Day. UN Chief Antonio Guterres calls for united efforts to save the planet. US President Joe Biden announces $7 billion in grants for residential solar projects. India's President Draupadi Murmu confers the Padma Awards. Former Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu conferred Padma Vibhushan. Singer Usha Utub and actor Mithun Chakraborty honoured with Padma Bhushan. Earth Day is being marked across the globe on Monday to support environmental conservation efforts. The day is dedicated to raising awareness and promoting sustainability of planet Earth. It serves as a reminder of the importance of united efforts for climate action. We have a report.
Mata bhumihi putro aham prithviya. ये धरती हमारी माँ.
April 22nd marks the World Earth Day. The day is observed as an international event to pledge support for environment protection. The theme for 2024 World Earth Day is Planet versus Plastics. On this day, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterated country's commitment to environmental protection. Prime Minister has reaffirmed commitment to nurture nature to ensure a better future for our planet. Various programs are held to sensitize people. In Porbandar, cycle rally was organized to raise awareness on 54th World Earth Day. Health Minister Mansukh Mandviya participated in a cycle rally and urged people to ensure safe earth for future generations. This day reminds us the importance of environment conservation and sustainability, encouraging to come together and take action for a healthier planet and brighter future. UN Chief Antonio Guterres said it is important to stand united for the planet.
On Earth Day, we must stand for our planet. A planet threatened by climate change, by pollution, by biodiversity loss. A planet that needs to be rescued. So we must unite, and we must mobilize all our efforts for climate action, to protect biodiversity, and to support all those, namely the indigenous communities, that are teaching us how to take care of planet Earth.
This Earth Day serves as a reminder that everyone has a shared responsibility for the health of the planet, and that corporations, governments, communities and individuals must work together to achieve this goal. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
As climate change rears its ugly head, Southeast Asia and Europe are dealing with severe heatwave conditions. Indians are seeing temperatures reaching between 40 and 46 degrees Celsius. As per the India Meteorological Department, heatwave conditions are likely to prevail in many parts of West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Jharkhand and Bihar over the next 5 days. In Mumbai, a yellow alert has been issued along with its neighbouring districts, Thane and Raigad, indicating the likelihood of hot and humid conditions until Thursday. A fresh western disturbance is likely to bring isolated to light to moderate rainfall, lightning and gusty winds over East Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Meanwhile, Europe is heating up faster than any other continent. Heat-related deaths in Europe have increased by around 30% in the last 20 years. EU's Environment Agency has urged governments to prepare healthcare systems to tackle effects of climate change. In Uganda, one teacher is taking action against plastic pollution and tree cutting as the world marks the International Earth Day today. Together with her students, the teacher has invented a tree made out of plastic bottles to bring attention to the serious impact of plastic pollution and its harm to nature. DD India's Isabel Nakiria sent us this report.
Rachel Akol is fighting plastic pollution in the classroom. The Ugandan teacher has created a tree made from plastic bottles to create awareness among her learners. The tree has manila paper used as leaves, and each leaf has information on environment pollution. Akol calls her innovation a robot tree.
I drew leaves so that they would give their responses, but I felt it was not coming out well. I went onto the manila, drew the same leaves. I felt I needed to better it. Then now, when the junior achiever students were making out the link fences, I went and asked them, can't you make for me a tree? And that tree, they said yes. I gave them the picture. I said I want a tree, but the tree must be out of bottles.
The National Environment Management Authority says over 130,000 metric tons of plastic are littered in Kampala annually. Of this, 42% is left uncollected. Most of the uncollected plastic causes toxic runoff into soil and water bodies. Scientists say plastic is made from harmful chemicals that are a danger to health and the environment. Akol is trying to find solutions to proper disposal of plastic by recycling it into a teaching aid. She also chose a tree to bring out awareness about the dangers of tree cutting on the environment. She says her teaching tool is empowering her learners to be actors in environmental conservation.
You're giving room for the learners to appreciate first nature, and also to appreciate that they can also be part of the lesson. They contribute, because when you group them, even the one that would have not spoken will be sharing. And after sharing, you know, they're all having what they've shared and you pin there.
Globally, states are pushing for a 60% reduction in plastic by 2040. In Uganda, the initiative, the Green Schools Project, supports innovations like Akol's by giving opportunities to young people to actively participate in climate solutions.
The only fact that we are using something that has been recycled from plastics means that we are being told to recycle and to protect the environment. Then the other thing is to be creative with the things that are around us. For example, those plastic bottles. We didn't expect that something brilliant like that would come out of plastic bottles.
The Environment Agency says plastic pollution has led to poor water and air quality, loss of soil fertility, and death of livestock and fish. While Akol and her students are taking a step in the right direction to rid the environment of plastic, environmentalists are calling for an end to plastic for a healthy planet. Isabel Nakiria in Kampala, reporting for DD India.
So amid these calls for climate action, US President Joe Biden is marking the Earth Day with an announcement of $7 billion in grants for residential solar projects nationwide. And to tell us more about it, we have with us Nick Harper joining us from Washington, D.C. Nick takes it forward from me here and also gives us more on the Trump trial and other stories making headlines around the world. Nick, is it solar for all then?
That's right, Tanvi. That's certainly the plan from the White House that is today celebrating Earth Day by announcing $7 billion in grants that are going to go towards residential solar projects for low-income households. The solar funding was part of US President Joe Biden's landmark climate change law that will create over 200,000 jobs. programme is aligned with Biden's goal to direct 40% of federal clean energy investment benefits to disadvantaged communities. He'll reveal the funding during a trip to Prince William Forest Park in Virginia in the next couple of hours. In the first ever criminal trial of a former US president, the opening arguments are currently underway in a New York court. It's the first time a former US president is standing trial on criminal charges. While addressing the selected 12-member jury panel, prosecutors are likely to allege that in 2016, Donald Trump tried to hide hush money payments made to an adult star to cover up claims of an alleged affair. Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of falsification of business records and denies that he had an encounter with any adult star.
This is done as election interference. Everybody knows it. I'm here instead of being able to be in Pennsylvania and Georgia and lots of other places campaigning. And it's very unfair. Fortunately, the poll numbers are very good. They've been going up because people understand what's going on. This is a witch hunt, and it's a shame. And it comes out of Washington. It's in coordination with Washington, everything, including the DA's office. It's in coordination with Washington. I just want people to understand that this is done for purposes of hurting the opponent of the worst president in the history of our country.
Well, to get more on all of this, DD India's Sally Patterson's joining us live from New York. Sally, so things are getting underway this morning. What are we expecting to see out of the first official day of proceedings?
Well, those involved in this case have kept their cards relatively close to their chest, Nick. And that's because there has been a fear, particularly among the prosecution, that Donald Trump could leak some of the names of those being called on to come and speak in court over the next few weeks. That's something we've seen happen in court before. Donald Trump has been known to be relatively loose-lipped when it comes to social media platforms. So we don't have all of the details of who's going to be coming in to speak to the jury, the newly fledged-in jury over the next few weeks. But we did hear from both the prosecution and the defense earlier, giving a sense of what their opening statements could look like on Monday. The defense says that its statement will only last around 25 minutes, and what we're expecting to see from that is really an attack on the credibility of some of those key witnesses being pulled forward by the prosecution. Those are likely to include Michael Cohen. He's the former lawyer and fixer of Donald Trump, and he's at the very center of this case. He's accused of giving money to adult film star Stormy Daniels, who's another key witness in this case. And he's alleged to have given her that money to keep quiet on an affair that she said she had with Donald Trump ahead of the 2016 election. Now, Donald Trump has denied that affair. Now, what's really at the heart of this case is how that money was then filed. The prosecution alleges that Donald Trump paid that money back to Michael Cohen and then filed it as legal fees. The prosecution says that was falsifying business records and is actually against the law. Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to all of the 34 different counts against him. You heard him speaking outside court there, using some of that language that we've seen many times before. He called this an election interference. He said that this was a witch hunt, and he called it unfair. That's as he builds up his campaign to run for the White House once again at the end of this year.
Sally, thank you. That was Sally Patterson joining us live from New York City. Well, next today, European ministers on Monday said they're looking urgently at how to provide more air defences for Ukraine. However, EU leaders stopped short of concrete pledges towards providing Patriot systems that Kiev values the most. Meeting in Luxembourg, European Union foreign and defence ministers said that the United States aid bill to Ukraine should not lead to any complacency on their part. With Russia having stepped up air attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure and cities, EU governments are under pressure to supply more protective systems to Kiev. Well, on the US's approval of more than $60 billion in new aid for Ukraine, Russia has said the new funding won't change the military situation in Ukraine, adding Moscow has the upper hand on the front lines. On Monday, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said more US weapons for Ukraine will only lead to more losses for Ukrainians, adding much of the funding will remain in America. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Monday warned that the US, the UK and France's support to Ukraine is increasing the risk of conflict among nuclear powers, adding that Western nations are obsessed with trying to strategically defeat Russia.
The Westerners are teetering dangerously on the brink of a direct military clash between nuclear powers, which is fraught with catastrophic consequences. Of particular concern is the fact that it is the troika of Western nuclear states that are among the key sponsors of the criminal Kyiv regime, the main initiators of the various provocative steps.
The UK has set out plans for its flagship policy to tackle illegal migration, as Prime Minister Rishi Sunak vows to send the first flight carrying asylum seekers to Rwanda in the next 10 to 12 weeks. Flights were scheduled to begin in June 2022, but the plan was cancelled after legal challenges. The British Parliament will most likely approve a law this week to pave the way for asylum seekers to be deported to Rwanda. Rishi Sunak also said that he's confident the proposed plan will comply with the UK's international obligations.
No more prevarication, no more delay. Parliament would sit there tonight and vote no matter how late it goes. No ifs, no buts, these flights are going to Rwanda. It rests on the relentless, continual process of successfully and permanently removing people to Rwanda, with a regular rhythm of multiple flights every month over the summer and beyond until the boats are stopped.
Well, to tell us more about all of this, DD India's Julia Chapman sent us this report from London.
What's happening later on is the latest round of so-called ping pong, this process whereby the two chambers of parliament in the UK pass legislation back and forth. It goes through the House of Commons, where members of parliament have approved it several times, only to be passed on to the upper house of parliament, the Lords, where several amendments have been put forward to this legislation. Among the latest, an effort to get an independent monitoring system for Rwanda's safety, as well as protections for Afghan interpreters and other Afghans who have previously worked for the British government. But those are likely to be rejected when this bill goes back to the House of Commons later on today. And Rishi Sunak's government saying that they are determined to make sure MPs stay in Parliament late into the night if necessary in order to get this legislation approved through both houses at some point over the next 24 hours. It comes after several delays. The government had been hoping that this was a process that could have been resolved last week.
To Germany now, where Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store on Monday inaugurated the Hanover Trade Fair in Germany. The German Chancellor said that he was impressed by the large role artificial intelligence plays for German medium-sized companies. Those firms make up the backbone of Europe's largest economy. In mid-February, the United States giant Microsoft said it would invest more than $3 billion in Germany in the next 2 years for artificial intelligence. Well, that's it from me here in Washington. Tanvi, handing it back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Nick. Nick Harper joining us from Washington, D.C. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. Filipino and US troops kick off combat drills in the Philippines amid Beijing's growing assertiveness in the region. And India is exceptionally proud of D. Gukesh, said Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as the chess prodigy made history by becoming the youngest ever World Chess Championship contender. Thank you for staying with us on DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. The United States and the Philippines kicked off their annual military drills on Monday with over 17,000 troops participating in the training exercise. The exercises involve maritime drills in the South China Sea, where Manila and Beijing dispute over maritime borders. France and Australia will join the maritime exercises to be conducted for the first time outside Philippine territorial waters. The annual Balikatan drills, which will run from April 22nd to May 10th, come amid an escalating diplomatic row and maritime encounters between the Philippines and China. North Korea fired several ballistic missiles on Monday towards the sea off its east coast, according to the South Korean and Japanese government. As per reports, the projectile was a short-range ballistic missile and appeared to have landed outside Japan's exclusive economic zone area. South Korea and Japan condemned the launch and called it a grave threat to stability on the Korean peninsula. And next, we get you the latest on India's elections. So campaigning for the second phase of India's elections gains momentum. In order to garner support for their respective parties, leaders across the nation are holding public rallies and roadshows. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed a public meeting in Uttar Pradesh's Aligarh today. Voting for Lok Sabha elections will be held on April 26th for the Aligarh parliamentary seat. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah held a rally in Chhattisgarh's Kanked region today. In order to woo voters, other political parties are holding rallies and roadshows across the nation. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge addressed a public rally in Channapatna, Bengaluru. So as the election campaign for the second phase enters its final stretch, Bahujan Samaj Party chief Mayawati held a rally in Uttar Pradesh's Bulandshahr. DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj caught up with Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, gearing up for the upcoming Lok Sabha polls from the Trivandrum constituency in Kerala. Tharoor emphasized his optimism for the forthcoming contest.
Election fervour is certainly gripping up the country, and especially in Kerala. And I have with me Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who is representing Trivandrum and is contesting for the fourth time. Sir, what do you think about these elections?
Look, it's an exciting election on the whole for the country. For me, in Thiruvananthapuram, it's a fourth time, which if I win would be a record for this, because no one has ever. Only one person has won 3 times, and that too was for a year and a half, one of the terms. So I'm already the record holder, but this will be a totally new record, and I'm looking forward to setting it. That's my thing in Thiruvananthapuram. Nationally, it looks like there is a bit of a mahal in our favour around the time of the first round of voting, so we're hoping it will continue.
Sir, definitely, if you come back to power this time around as well, what developments will this region particularly will see?
Well, definitely we're wanting to bring our alliance to power in Delhi, which will of course give me a greater opportunity to get things done here, because some of my bigger challenges here, I've had the frustration of not having the cooperation needed from the central government and the state government. One classic example is today I went to the coastal area where there is a very serious problem of coastal erosion. I've raised it 20 times in Parliament in the last 10 years. I've written to 3 different ministers. I've raised questions in the Lok Sabha, and I've written to the Prime Minister. Constantly the central government says it's not our problem, it's the state government's responsibility. Go to the state government, they say they don't have the money. And meanwhile, people are dying, they're losing homes, the sea is literally consuming the beach, the coastal road, everything in many parts of my constituency.
You have recently said in an interview that as far as this constituency is concerned, that BJP has emerged as a strong player. What do you have to say? How do you react to it?
Well, that's because the last 2 elections they came second. And this is the only place in Kerala they've come second twice. So obviously this is their strongest constituency. And they put forward a central minister who's making a good fight of it. My own view at the moment is that the fight is actually for second place between him and the CPI ex-MP who is contesting. I believe I'm ahead. That's the impression I have from all the journalists who've been covering the campaign, all the people I see on the streets and in the villages, and also the surveys, including the 2 leading newspapers in the state have both brought out surveys in which I'm leading, one by 10, one by 8. So I don't think I have to worry very much about the victory.
All right, now we move on and take a look at what else is happening around the world. In Maldives, People's National Congress won 66 of the first 86 seats declared, according to the Election Commission of Maldives. Chairman of MDP, Fayaz Ismail, congratulated the winning MPs and added that MDP's MPs will be ready to work with the government for the betterment of democratic values. 5 train carriages caught fire on Sunday while travelling through downtown London in Ontario, Canada. The total damage has been estimated at $35,000 to rail cars and buildings. No injuries were reported and the cause of the fire is under investigation. Celebrating the inclusivity of every individual in society, the Mr. Gay Nepal 2024 contest took place in Kathmandu Valley on Sunday. In the contest, participants raised the issue of the inclusivity and of LGBTQ+ community in mainstream politics and social development. India's President Draupadi Murmu on Monday presented the Padma Awards, which are India's highest civilian awards, at a civil investiture ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan, India's President's house in New Delhi. President Murmu conferred Padma Vibhushan to former Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and founder of Sulabh International, Bindeshwar Pathak, actor Mithun Chakraborty, singer Usha Utub, former Uttar Pradesh Governor Ram Nayak and industrialist Sitaram Jindal were conferred with the Padma Bhushan. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, among others, were present at the function. And as we wind up, another story reflective of India's talent. Indian chess prodigy D. Gukesh scripted history by becoming the youngest ever champion of FIDE candidates tournament. Gukesh secured a draw against Hikaru Nakamura with black pieces in round 14 to ensure his title win. He has become the second Indian to qualify for a World Championship final after Vishwanathan Anand. The 17-year-old has qualified for the World Championship final where he will face China's Ding Liren. He has become the first teenager to reach the summit clash of the chess's biggest prize. So with that, we wind up this edition of DD India Global. You can catch all the news and updates on our DD India app. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on our app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now.